All right. Hi. Hello out there in live streaming social media space. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from today in the world. It is your Swivel crew here, Kelvin, Vince, and Oksana, bringing you the weekly Swivlin Beyond session for today. So, with that being said, what is it that we are talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about best practice libraries. So, that's right, you heard it here first, best practice libraries. So, some of you may be wondering, okay, what are you talking about when you say best practice library? So before we get into the weeds of how to use it and doing all those wonderful things with the best practice library, probably be nice to define what it is. So a best practice library, okay, is going to be, and again, it may be different things to different people. And I'm just going to explain how I've used it and how it's been used in a lot of districts that I've worked in as well, and how teachers in my cohort have used it. So, best practice library is going to be those practices, those things, those artifacts that teachers use that they are tried and true. So it's going to be your go-to. You know that this works. You have this in your repertoire. So some people often refer to it as their teacher toolkit as well. But it's again something that you have within your arsenal that you've used before, you've seen it used, and you've implemented it, that you know does work, that if the time comes for it, you have a certain situation within your class or within your group, hey, you know that you're going to pull this out because it's something that you have tested, it works, and you know it very, very, very well. Again, this is something that a number of teachers have done and used, and it's probably called other things as well. Vince, Oksana, what about you? How do you define your best practice library?
Hi everyone. That is a great question. And speaking about me, as far as understand this phrase, I think this is the collection of materials which have proven to be useful, which have proven to be successful within the classroom, within the topic, and the teachers have the access to them, and they could use them whenever they want to or they need to. They can share those practices, they can share those videos with each other for their professional development, for students, for parents, with their school management, whatever. But this really, like it was speaking about school, this about videos which are successful, useful, and they are kept in one place for all the team members of this organization.
No,
Excellent.
definitely. Yeah, and just like Oksana said, it's for me, a best practices library is basically working together with perhaps your colleagues or maybe a grade level subject, grade level. It could be like an English department, for example, that we make uh, we record our lessons and share them with each other so that we can then share them with our students, give our students a different perspective from just seeing our faces all the time giving the lessons, right? So it really depends on what your goal is, but how you put it together is pretty much the same, especially if you're using Swivl tools like Teams by Swivl. So, and we'll go over how you can do that today. Kelvin?
Excellent. Thank you for sharing as well, Vince. So, this is a nice little segue into our first question for today, since we kind of defined what a best practice library is. So, what is the value of having a best practice library? Okay. So, as Vince and Oksana kind of alluded to a bit in their definition of best practice library, it does have a lot of value because, as I also mentioned, it's those go-tos, things that you've tried, work, you've seen from other teachers, maybe even those master teachers that you have within your school. So if you're someone, for example, that struggles with classroom management, well, you can have that best practice library set of tools that can help you out with those situations. Again, things that you do know work, that you've seen work with other teachers, other classrooms, that also fits your personality as well. It's also really nice because it's, again, could be used for new teachers as well that are coming into education very first time. I know, just thinking back to when I first started teaching, it was definitely a real eye-opening moment for me when, I'm in the classroom, the door closes, I'm the only adult in the room. I don't have a supervising teacher there or observing teacher there with me. Like, this is my classroom now. These are my students now. I'm the one that's overseeing everything. So it was definitely nice to be able to talk to teachers that have been doing this for a while, talking with my mentor, and again, just picking their brain and start to build my best practice library. Okay, now, did all the things that they told me work for me? No, because each individual is different, which is why, you can have a general one, a library, but ultimately the one that's going to be the best practice is going to be those things that you do tried and true that works for you. So again, it is going to look a little bit different just depending on the individual and what their needs are, but the way that you do it obviously is still going to be the same. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But Oksana, Vince, what about you all?
Speaking about the value, I could point out several things that that to my mind are really important for a teacher. First of all, it allows you to be flexible with your teaching techniques. So each time you could decide by yourself whether you want to use the video from the best practice library. You can use the video from your colleagues library. You could just do some live class without any library, but still you have this opportunity to select what you're going to do and how to make your class and how to meet the needs of this exact class. Then of course it saves a lot teachers time and efforts, because if you have, for example, the video recordings of let's say topic explanation, topic introduction, you don't need to repeat it each time. You could give it as a home task. You could put it during the class. You could do whatever you want to, but still, like, to save at least little bit your time and your efforts. And I think video keeps the best of us and our colleagues. Sometimes we could do something very nice during the classroom, but who knows whether we will be able to repeat it next time or no. But the video will keep the best moments of us and our colleagues, so we are able to share these best moments with the colleagues and to enjoy it, to inspire each other, to encourage each other. And maybe these are like the main points for me.
Yeah, and also I would like to add, if you have a best practices library, it's not only useful for that year that you're using it, or maybe that month. It could be useful for the next year. Your lesson is not irrelevant just because you moved to a new year, right? You can reuse it or use parts of the video. If one of your colleagues moves to another school, or at least you still have that artifact that you can watch again. If they're one of your mentors or someone that you worked with a lot, you can still use their assets, of course, with their permission, right? But just it's good to know that you have that, because we can all learn from each other. So
Excellent. Thank you all for sharing that. So this actually segues into our main topic of how this connects with Swivl, because we've been talking about video in this, and video does play a very important part, which again we'll be diving into more shortly. But if you allow me, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can actually see what it is that I am talking about. So this is the dashboard or homepage when you come into our cloud.swivl.com page. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be dropped into the chat if you wanted to just join and sign in. It's very simple to do. And it's also, again, you can create a free account for yourself to go ahead and get started recording videos right away. But as it relates to best practice library, so I'm just actually going to come here to my library. This is going to be where all of my videos are housed. So I have a ton of videos. There's 18 or actually 19 pages, wow, worth of videos. So that's definitely well over 200 something videos that I have.
Kelvin's been busy. Videos.
That is a lot of information to try to go through and like, is this the video? Is this the video? Is this the video? So to help out with that, obviously, you're going to create and sort those videos into folders. All right. And adding a folder is super easy. You just go ahead, add the folder, and you could call it, all right, let's just say we're going to name this best practices. All right. And then now here, I have my best practices folder. Okay. So if I go back to my projects, and just click on this one here. This is a video that I've already done. So again, in this aspect, you've already made your videos, and this is sort of what you're doing after the fact, okay? So if I didn't do this beforehand, I can come here and just edit my project. Here I could change the title if I haven't done so, add just a brief description. So if people were, I'm sharing this out, let's say it's for my PLC, and we were working on an English lesson all together, and we were just sharing that. So I can just put that here. I can also put some tags that we have as well. And I'll also be able to create tags for this video. And again, it's all going to make finding that video a little bit easier. All right. So once I have everything there, just go ahead, hit save. It's just going to say, hey, the video is updated. Right? So I could also move this video to a folder. So the folder that I just created, I will go ahead and click on best practices, hit it. And now that video has been moved to the best practices folder as well. Okay. So you'll be able to see that there. So you can see that it's here. It's also tagged that it is in that best practice folder. So again, it just makes it simpler when you're looking through your videos if they are in those folders, so you know how to keep track of them. Something else that I always like to point out too is that your video is also going to be still in your library. It's housed in the best practice folder, but you can still see that it is going to be in your main library as well. Okay. Now you've got your video, it's sorted, you have the tags, you put it into the folder, and let's say you wanted to share that with people that are in your group. So you could come here, let's say that, hey, I needed to send this directly to someone. I can just click here, direct, put in their email address or type in their name here, or just scroll through and actually click on it and to share it with them. As long as they are on the same team as I am, they will be able to get that direct share. Or if I wanted to share it with an entire group, so again, that PLC group that I was talking about earlier, you would be able to do so here by doing group share, and the groups that you have created previously. So again, even if you have a best practices group, or maybe again, like I mentioned, that PLC or PLN group, you can click on it. Once you click on it and hit share, it will go to them as well. Then you also have the ability to do an embed for the video. So if you had a group page, or just to share via a web link directly with them as well. All right. So before we continue, anything that you'd like to add, Oksana or Vince, maybe something that I missed, or just something, another idea that you have?
add that sometimes we record the whole lesson because we don't know what exactly we will need later on, but it is
Right.
possible to edit the video to cut only those episodes, those activities that you think will be necessary or important for you in the future, and then arrange those episodes into the folders. So and what is important here that the original video will remain the same, so you could make as many copies, short copies of those videos as you need to, and then arrange like this is the introduction of a topic. This is like revision with the students, interaction with the students. I know this about this subject or that subject, dependent on the folders you have. So you just divide your class, your video recording into the parts, into the pieces, and arrange them into the folders.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Oksana. And then something else that I wanted to point out when, as Oksana was mentioning that, it kind of reminded me, so, oh, yes. So when you do happen to share a video, so let's say you're sharing your original copy of that video, people will be able to see it. They won't be able to edit or do anything to that video unless you actually give them a copy of that video. But let's say that you share video with them and either you shared the wrong one or it's not the right topic, you can actually unshare it as well. So once that video has been shared with them, you still have control to unshare it. They will no longer be able to see that video. And then, of course, you can share that right one. Now, and again, just to piggyback off what Oksana was saying as well, that your video library is obviously going to be a number of videos. So you're going to be able to sort through those videos within that folder and have them organized in the way that you would like them to be in there as well, just to, again, make searching even within that particular folder simpler. So things like having those tags or the titles and the descriptions are going to be very key because, again, as you search, you can search for those keywords. If, for example, you don't remember the actual title of said video, which I'm very guilty of myself because I have a number of videos. I'm like, I forget what I call that. So that having the tags definitely does help. All right.
Yeah,
So
another thing, Kelvin, on in terms of tagging, when you start creating a best practices library, whether it's by yourself or whether it's with a colleague, it's really important to think about how you're going to name your videos. Because if you look there in the middle, everyone, if you're watching here, the title of Kelvin's video is Multi-Marker 83, right? So if you have a bunch of videos and you don't title them, they're going to be named, video 24, video 25. It's really important that you come up with a naming convention. Do you want to put the title, like the subject in there? Do you want to put the date? Just it makes organization so much easier. And then that, along with tags, can make your video library super easy to find anything you're looking for. So just want to keep that in mind too when you're planning this best practices library.
definitely, yes. Thank you for that, Vince. And so it's all super important. You can see how it relates to one another, which actually brings us into our second question now, which is going to be, how does video enhance your best practices library? So you can see here, we've talked about video. We've talked about how you can put those video into your library. You're building that up and how you can organize it and how you can even share that content with your colleagues or even your students. But I would say for me, the best practices library, this is really something that I think is essential as far, or is more impactful, I should say, with video, because video does not, I mean, I guess it's, for lack of a better term, video doesn't lie. So it is what it is. So you recorded it, you see it, this is what happened in the classroom. You look back at it, and it's going to be nice because you have that there. So you know this is exactly what happened. This is what works. So when you're building that best practices, maybe you're for your mentor teacher, they've been talking to you about something. It's like, okay, I understand how it should look, but I really would be more helpful if I can see what it looks like. And so they're like, oh, not a problem. I'll record this lesson on this topic for you. And you can see, because I've been doing this for years and it's like works well for me. And like, oh, that's perfect. I always like to equate that to whenever, you have those PDs or meetings about things like, okay, this is what we need to start doing in our school. And this is this, that, and the other. And you're like, okay, that sounds good on paper, but what does that actually look like in practice? Can you come into my classroom and actually show me what this is supposed to look like? So this having the video does that for you. And again, you have that ability, if you do have questions about this, to comment back through the video to your mentor, the person that shared it with you. And again, ask those questions to seek that clarification that goes along with the video. So I think that's one of the sort of the main differences for me of preferring video to just not having the video, because again, it really does truly enhance what you're doing because you have that visual to go along with the thought process. All right. Oksana, Vince?
Oh yeah, I totally agree that video is a very important tool in education, in teaching, because it could greatly help to improve the relations between the teachers, co-teachers, colleagues within the school. It could help to make the relations between a teacher and the students much better. It could improve the interaction between, again, the people within one organization. And of course, it is very essential for professional development. Even if you're not going to share the video with any coach, with any of your colleagues, but even for yourself, being a teacher, it is very important to see you teaching at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, at the beginning of your career and somewhere a few years later, and see the progress, see what to work on, see your strong and maybe not weak points, but the points that can be still improved or something like that. So yeah, video is really a very, very important tool as for me.
Yeah, and definitely, and also to add to everybody's great comments, I think it's really important too, just for sharing, if you have a best practice library, for sharing them with students. If a student leaves that day and they miss the lesson, you have that lesson recorded or a part of that lesson recorded, share that lesson with them. They can watch it when they get home. They're not necessarily, they don't have to be in your class to watch it. You can share with them or share someone else's lesson to give them a different perspective, right? So that's why it's really important to have a library of videos that you can use for multiple purposes. You can go back to, it's something that's always there. So
excellent. I couldn't agree more. It's, again, a very powerful tool at your disposal. And the good thing about being able to use Teams with this is that you'll have that video automatically within your library. You will have access to it. You'll be able to, as we've mentioned, put tags on it, naming conventions, however you would like to, put it into folders, be able to share it with individuals. And you also will be able to edit and cut parts of the video if you're like, okay, I want to break this down into chunks. So you'd be able to chunk that. And on top of it, there's no limit to how many videos you can have as well. So you have the ability to record as many videos as you want. So your video library will definitely be able to grow. This, again, is literally just a small snippet of how you could put together that video library and what that looks like. And there's lots and lots and lots of other ways and uses that you can do, which takes us into our final thoughts for today, because we would just like to know one concrete example of how you would be able to use Teams to build a best practice library. So go ahead and take a moment or two, think about that, drop that in the chat, and we'll sort of discuss maybe some of the ways we've seen it or even have used it ourselves in our own experiences.
Yeah,
So,
and also
yeah,
if you're watching later on, you're watching the recording of this, feel free to just put it in the comments section. We'd be happy to. Well, I always check them, so if you do post me comments, I'll respond to them, and we'd be happy to hear it, even if it's not live right now. We really would love to know. Give us some examples. You can help other people too in the community.
definitely, because that's what it's all about, is just making sure that hey, you're not alone in this. You're part of a community. We're in this together, and we're just going to continue to grow and learn from each other. So, I guess I would say that something that I've seen recently, that I was really truly impressed by. I actually work with a number of districts that actually record a best practice library for just again, teachers that they're master teachers. They've been doing this for a while. They are very good at what they do, and record sort of whatever their strengths are. So classroom management, behaviors, and the list goes on and on and on for those new and incoming teachers that are joining the education profession. So just that way they have that at the district level. And then so if you're a coach and you're like working with someone that's like, oh, okay, you have X behavior in your class. Yeah, this be a good video for you just to take a look at. We can discuss further about how we can implement that. So I've actually seen that at the district level, which I thought is just like, wow, really impressive that they're going to that length, which is nice because, again, it's all about helping out that next generation as well. Because again, myself included, when I first started teaching, that was really when I got my education. Going to school for teaching and just doing some student teaching is completely different from, oh my gosh, wow, they didn't teach me this in college. So it was almost trial by fire. So it's nice to be able to have that to fall back on as well. Vince, Oksana?
Okay, so I also wanted to mention something on a school level. Yeah, the library of school management videos, just for the teachers to be able to revise them, to watch them whenever they need to. For teachers who have just joined the organization, yeah, to know the rules of this exact school, and for teachers who only start their career to have some experience shared by their colleagues, yeah, just to feel more confident, to feel support, to see how it really happens in a real classroom, as you mentioned, Kelvin. And if as for me, as a teacher, I would prefer to have my own personal library of introduction of a new topic, and then just short episodes, I don't know, 10-15 minutes of each topic, and then I could decide whatever I'm going to do with them, to use them for a flipped classroom, to use them for the test, to give them as a home task. I don't know, but to have this library ready for me at any time.
Yeah, and also to add to what Oksana was talking about, you can even share them with a parent, perhaps, if they need help teaching at home, right? You're late night trying to help the student, or your son, your daughter trying to figure out what their math class was about. You can share that with a parent directly, so they can watch it or go through it together with them. So if you have that available in a best practices library, even though it's technically not a lesson, it might not be a lesson. It could be just a snippet of a lesson that you edited. So that could also be extremely important too, and an example that you can use it with.
Excellent. Thank you, Vince and Oksana. And with that, thank you all for joining us today. So before we wrap up, just a few housekeeping things there. If you would like more help or on any of our Swivl products or topics, you're more than welcome to visit swivl.com /setup. You can also join us on Thursday, so tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for our weekly Q&A sessions where we're going to talk about any and everything Swivl related. So we're answering your questions about things that you have related to Swivl. Please, if you haven't done so, follow us on Twitter. That's just going to be at Swivl. You can also follow us on Instagram at Go Swivl. And also, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is that's youtube.com/Swivl. Thank you all so much for watching. Please, we hope you join us next week when we will be talking about absences. So, like, absences, what's that going to be about? Tune in next week to find out a little bit more. Thank you all so much. We had a wonderful time as always. And again, if you weren't able to join us live, you can continue the conversation on all of our social medias or even in the comment section of this video. Thank you all so much. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Bye. Bye.